throughout the documentary, I cover a variety of topics. I look at the history behind musical theatre in Britain. I look at the different genres of shows out there, the different demographics, the industry is attracting basically, how it fits into London's culture, and why it's such a big part of the entertainment industry, and the social media impacts as well as celebrity casting. And those are just a few of the topics I cover in my documentary. I've also managed to include some interviews in there. Prior to the project, I was very passionate about musical theatre, and this project gave me a way to research more into a topic that I was already very interested about and quite knowledgeable about, and it gave me an opportunity to share my love of musical theatre and put it into a 20-minute documentary. So now I'm going to show you a quick excerpt from my documentary, the first 5 minutes, where I go through a bit of the history of musical theatre in London.
Curtains up, the house lights go down, and audiences are captured once again by the magic that is musical theatre. An experience like no other. With its bright lights, extravagant choreography, memorable musical numbers, and enchanting performances that have graced the West End for decades. But how do musicals in London continue to thrive and add to London's culture? To answer this question, we need to go way back to the start of musical theatre in London. Theatre, operas, and dramatic plays have had centuries' worth of history in Britain. And before the West End was a home to a variety of theatre, many plays were put on there. Fun fact, the first West End theatre to open was Drury Lane's Theatre Royal in 1663. It burned down in 1672, so they rebuilt another theatre with the same name on the land. 2 more theatres followed, the Royal Opera House and the Theatre Royal Haymarket, between 1720 and 1732. And thus the roots of musical theatre in London had begun. However, we need to jump around 160 years backward in time to 1890, when the genre of musical theatre itself was founded. A producer called George Edwardes wanted to put a new modern twist on already popular operas of the time, so he experimented with a family-friendly musical theatre style, with breezy, happy songs, and basic plots of rich women getting the man of their dreams against all odds. This was the true beginning of musical comedies. Some notable productions from these early ages include A Guidey Girl from 1893 and The Shop Girl from 1894, both written and produced by George Edwardes. Musicals developed in the 1910s, and producers and directors began polishing the very basis of musical theatre. They started looking at the concept of developing their plots and using music to express characters' emotions as well as furthering the plot. In the 1930s and 40s, London musicals were a stark contrast to American musicals. They were somber and told sad stories, which contrasted with the joyful and cheerful musicals of Broadway. Noel Coward, a British playwright, was an important part of this era because he developed the nostalgia musical, which was a big change from the previous witty and light musicals. He told sadder and more complex stories. Fun fact, when the First World War commenced, the government closed theatres out of fear they would be bombed. Gradually, the rules were relaxed, and the theatres reopened and became an important place for Londoners to go and escape their problems and be entertained. After all, the show must go on. As Broadway was in its golden age during the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the West End was having successes of its own. Musical plots and genres were expanding, and well-known musicals such as Oliver were created. Musicals in this era began to reflect the attitudes towards realism, and they began to ditch the classic simple happy plotline in favor of stories about prostitutes and crooks. The audience seemed to enjoy the low-life ambience, and the theatre was more popular than ever. In the 1970s and 1980s, we began to see the development of big-name musicals and writers that we recognize today. For example, Andrew Lloyd Webber started his amazing career in 1970 with the musical Jesus Christ Superstar, and after that it was one hit after another for him, with Evita, Cats, Starlight Express, and Phantom of the Opera all opening and being smash hits in these 2 decades. Cats in particular was a defining musical, and became one of the first mega-musicals. It succeeded in getting London and the West End out of their slump. Cats was more focused on dance, so there were worries about how the audience would perceive this particular musical. Webber's work was crucial to the 70s, and he really helped with the development and rising success of the British musical. Budget, set design, and costume also seemed to become more important in the 80s, with musicals matching the crazy flair and importance of design in the decade. Musical theater became a high-budget and high-cost affair, with the flamboyance and extravagance that we expect from musical theater shows today. And the audience loved it. British musical theater